Rock Pile in a very special Rock Pile edition tonight. Happy St. Patrick's Day. If you had your corned beef and cabbage, I know that's where I came from. My mom and dad's. My mom made corned beef and cabbage, was good. So I came right from there to here. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think we finally got it right in the nick of time. So right before the shot clock ended here. But I want to make sure I give a special shout out to the Rome Sports Hall of Fame for sponsoring all the Rock Pile shows and for specially sponsoring tonight's show. You can follow the Rome Sports Hall of Fame on Facebook. Their address, they're located at 5790 Rome New London Road in Rome. They can be reached at 315-339-9038. You can email Dave Sparaglia, and they also do have a Venmo account at the Rome Sports Hall of Fame and a GoFundMe page for the benefits. All the contact information is across the bottom of the ticker here. And I do want to make sure I give a special shout out to the Ryan brothers, Marty, Joe, Kevin, and Brendan for sponsoring tonight's show with Coach. That I'm going to bring him on here in just a moment. So without further ado, let's see if I can get him on the broadcast here. Let me unmute him and bring him onto the show. Just a minute. Let's see. I can see you, Coach. How are you?
I'm good, Rock. Finally. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Right in the nick of time. I will say, though, I think Coach Evans beat you. I think we got on a little bit quicker with Coach Evans.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe. But I'll take your word.
But I'll say that I know you had asked me the other night, you said about Coach Adie and Coach Evans. All the coaches that have been on so far, Brian helped Mike get on. Gail helped Coach Evans get on. My sister had to help my father get on. I think the only one that didn't, I think Coach Harjung. I think she did it all by herself.
Yep. It's beyond me. It's well beyond me. It took me a long time to figure out how to use electric pump for a ball.
Well, that's okay, as long as we got you on, Coach. Hey, Coach, listen, before we get started, I got to say this, and I did this with my Uncle Paul. I didn't know you were a three-sport athlete.
Yeah. Try to do a little bit of everything.
So it was basketball, baseball, and football? And did you do track too?
I did track my senior year. I didn't play baseball. I did track my senior year.
So now, were you in the other one? I was going to ask you. Were you in the backcourt with Mike? Was he older or younger?
No, Mike was 2 years ahead of me, so I never got a chance to play with him. He didn't play his senior year because he had a medical reason he didn't play his senior year, so I never got a chance to play with him. I would have played. I played my sophomore year, and Mike would have been a senior that year.
Okay,
but he didn't.
But I didn't know you were a three-sport guy.
Yeah, Catholic schools, the smaller schools, you do everything but light the candles in the chapel in the morning.
So what'd you play in baseball? Coach second base?
I was a catcher, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I played small field, but I was primarily a catcher from Little League up through.
Okay. So where did the coaching come into play? Where did you start to get the love and know you wanted to get into the coaching field?
Well, it was the summer between my sophomore and junior year at Rome Catholic, and I got a job with the Rome Recreation Department, and Coach Evans had just started the summer basketball program over at Fort Stanwix School. So I went over there to work with him, and that's when I got the bug. He's the one that got me to really get into coaching. I knew that's what I wanted to do. The morning session was with the younger kids. So it was, teaching the basics and have them enjoy the game, which is very important at a young age. And from that point on, I knew I wanted to be a coach.
And, Coach, you spent 3 years as a freshman coach, right? And then a couple years as JVs?
I was at Rome Catholic. I started at Rome Catholic right out of junior college. I finished junior college, and I was going to Utica College to get my bachelor's. And Coach Didio offered me a chance while I was still going to school to coach the freshman team at Rome Catholic. So I coached the freshmen for a couple of years, and I coached the JVs for a couple of years. And then the 2 years I coached JVs, I was also hired to teach at Rome Catholic. But after that 2-year stint as a JV coach, I had an opportunity to go to RFA. And for the next 7 years, I was on Coach Evans' staff. Took a year off to finish graduate work, and Mike called, and it's kind of funny. He called and he says, listen, you got a couple of weeks, and that's when the motion offense first started coming in, and he asked me to come over and put it in with his team. So I said, yeah, I'll just do that. And I never left. 23 years later. So I had 3 tours in Rome Catholic. As the student, I was the first freshman class to open the school up. And as a coach, left, came back as a coach again. So I had 3 tours in Rome Catholic. I
Now,
never
Coach,
left the place.
I didn't know you were an assistant with Coach Evans.
For 1 year, yep. I coached the Staley team for 6 years, and I asked him if I could spend full time with him on the bench, and he, thankfully, he said yes. And I did that, and then that's the point where I had no other choice but to take a year off to finish up my grad work. And
So how did you become how did you become the head job then over at Rome Catholic? I know you took over for Coach 80, but how did that come about?
Well, the initial 2 weeks led into me being his assistant for the next 7 years, and then he stepped down and I just stayed on.
So I always ask the question that there's always a lot of assistant coaches that take over for a coach that's been successful. And obviously Mike was successful at Rome Catholic. What was it like to take over for somebody that was successful there?
It's always a challenge, it's always a challenge. And, but you got to have some confidence in yourself and believe in what you think you can accomplish. It wasn't a very hard transition as far as the student athletes were concerned, because I had been there as an assistant, assistant for the previous 7 years. But you have to become your own head coach with your own program. So I felt as though I was ready, and I was thankful for Mike for giving me the opportunity to just step into his spot.
And Coach, from learning from Coach 80 and Coach Evans, and I know you guys used to go to a lot of camps and clinics all over the place. What were some of the things you tried to take away from each of those guys, and maybe some other coaches that you might have followed in your career?
Right. Well, coaches are notorious thieves. We steal from everybody we can. So every camp we went to, every clinic we went to, you always try to come away with a little bit from everybody, something that you think will fit within your scheme that you're trying to accomplish and try to use. But there were some things when I was teaching at RFA, I spent a lot of time in the phys ed office, and I would pick up some things from Coach Mize, Coach Bruce, and Coach Gelati that you wouldn't think, swim coach, track coach.
Yeah.
But I learned some great things also with Coach Evans prior to going into their office all the time. As far as organization, and that was a big thing. I would watch them prepare for practice, and they would very organized and very limited in time they would spend on each thing they want to accomplish during practice. And I think some coaches make the mistake where they try to work on one aspect for a lengthy period of time, and you tend to lose the kids.
Right.
So, I always used to try to keep everything 15 minutes, and then move on. But I remember Coach Gelati one time. He was sitting at the desk and he had an away swim meet, and on my way out, I wished him good luck, and he said, "Well, we're not going to win." And I go, "Coach, all coaches say that." He goes, "No, we're not going to win." And he gave me the exact score because the swimmers, and I don't know much about swimming, how it scored, but he knew where his strengths were with his swimmers and his weaknesses were. So he had the entire meet down to the exact score before he even got on the bus. And so I learned I learned that there's things that you could take away from everybody, whether they're within your sport or not in your sport. A coach is a coach,
Yeah.
and you're dealing with the student athletes, and you try to you try to pick and choose, or as I said, you try to steal a little bit from everybody you can.
And coach, I always say that, I was blessed to grow up with a lot of those coaches in different sports. And you do learn. You learn something from every coach, no matter what the field or what sport is. But, I always say you're only as good as the assistant coaches around you. And you were fortunate enough, and I think in your head coaching position, you were blessed to be around a lot of good coaches at Rome Catholic. Talk about some of those guys.
Well, I had hopefully I don't forget everybody, but with Jeff Didio being my first assistant, and Jeff obviously was a basketball person. Steve Campbell and was with me for quite a few years. Oops, keep dropping my phone here. And I'm trying to think of some of the other assistants that I had. But the one thing that you try to have with your assistants is someone that's going to be loyal to you, loyal to the program, and hopefully you're going to have an assistant that wants to continue on and aspire to be a head coach someday. Because, a good head coach is only as good as the people he has around him. They have to be dedicated. And I was very fortunate to have, quite a few assistant coaches that, and I'll think of more of them as we go on here.
Coach, how about the style of play now when you watch high school basketball compared to what it was, even back, say, 20 years ago? I know some of the style now is more, they like to run, they like to get up and down. You don't really see much of the half court set anymore. You don't see much of the, let's call a timeout and let's set up a play. A lot of coaches just let these kids get up and down the court. What else has changed?
Not a criticism, but an observation. I think the student athletes today, they don't have that dedication that the student athletes back when I played, when you played, they were willing to put the time in. And their parents were very cooperative. I was always blessed with great parents with all of the players that I had. And I think that's probably, and the other thing that we talk about a lot as we're watching games, and, we'll sit there and we're watching the D1, watching Syracuse games, and, we question, how could a kid that's on a four-year scholarship make a mistake like that, a simple mistake?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the student athletes today don't understand the game. They know how to play the game, but they don't understand the game because there's not that full-time commitment that they used to have before. But you're right, as far as how the game is played today, it's not really structured. And we come from a structured background. And you have to have the right personnel. I think sometimes at the high school level, there's a disservice to the kids, because I think at that level you need to have a little bit more structure than sometimes you see at high school games now. They watch the college games, so they want to play like the college games, up and down the floor. I mean, we went up and down the floor as players and coaches, but we had structure. We had situations. We'd practice situations. What happens if there's 7 seconds left on the clock? And then when the 3-point shot came in, what happens if you're up 3 and the other team has the ball? What do you do in those situations? So I think, I would think all of us could be able to coach today. I think it would be a little bit of a little different approach than a lot of the kids have today. You got to have some talent. I mean, you get in a D1 situations, you want to run this, we unstructured offense, I guess, if you want to call it something. And you better have at least 3 kids that can put the ball on the floor and take it to the basket when the shot clock's running down. Because if you don't, then you're going to see players going sideline to sideline instead of baseline to baseline. And that's when you don't get teams that score very well, because now you got the wrong guy handling the ball and the shot clock's running down.
And Coach, how about too, now in today's game, everybody's the Steph Curry, right? They're all taking those 3-point shots. I mean, now when you watch some of these games, and some high school games too, they're taking 20, 30 threes a game, if not more. And I remember back when I played, if we took 20 threes, we were in big trouble. We weren't allowed to shoot that many shots. But you don't really see the back to the basket, the traditional big man anymore. So that the style of play that way has changed too.
Yeah. It's you got to go way back to where you saw perimeter game get to the Final Four when Rick Pitino had the Providence team. And he had Billy Donovan. And they just had the perimeter game. And from there, it started picking up a little bit because kids like to shoot. So you never had to work on a kid wanting to shoot the ball. But you're right, that 3-point line has really changed the game. But you still got to give. Coach Evans always used to say, you got to feed the big guy once in a while, because if he's going to kill himself on one end getting rebounds for you, you better give him a touch every now and then.
That's right.
But it's a perimeter. I mean, now with the European kids coming in, I mean, we had a kid from Sweden back at our Catholic High days, and 6'7", and he was one of the best 3-point shooters we have, because that's the kind of game over there. And you watch it now in the pros and at the college level with these foreign players. So I mean, that's changed a lot with the philosophies of the coaches and the players back in the United States too.
And Coach, one of the questions I've asked everybody is, and I guess I'm kind of spoiled a little bit because I was fortunate enough, I got a chance to coach with my dad. And I always say my dad was one of the old school guys, but he was an old school guy that came back and coached a little bit. And my dad adapted, to the kids now in the game a little bit. But your style of play, how you coached, and Coach Evans and Coach Adie, I've asked this question. Do you think you still could have coached in today's game today?
I think so. I hope so. I think it would take a little bit of adjustment for us, but the good coaches, you hear this over the years, the good coaches or the better coaches, they try to adapt their philosophy to the players that they have coming in. That's a lot easier to be said than to do. And I think the kids, if they want to learn, they want to play, they'll listen to you, and they'll take what you want to teach them. I understand that the game's changed as far as the types of offensive situations you want. It hasn't defensively, but sometimes the coaches, it's a lot easier to run up and down the floor, roll the balls out, and say, I'll be back in an hour, don't get hurt, than it is to have a structured offense and a structured defense. So I think any of us old timers would have to use a little bit of the game today, but also don't lose track of a lot that we did in the past.
And Coach, I want to pull some comments, or you got some people that Joe Mauer said, what an offense, the running Red Wings. So glad that I learned from the system. Let's see what else we got here.
Yeah.
Bob Andrews says, Coach Kenny, I don't know if we broke you in or you broke us in when you became the head coach. What a great run. So much fun memories. Lemoyne double overtime.
Bob's
see what else.
He's a neighbor of my daughter now. And the kids all play together. It's great, but I still call him Bob, but he's Rob in the neighborhood. So I said, no, he's still Bob to me. But
and you got Coach Bruce says, Coach K, you're doing a great job as usual.
Who's
see
that?
What else we got? Coach Bruce.
Oh, Coach Bruce. Coach, how you doing in Florida?
Let's see. You got Kevy Rice says, special man, special coach. We were always so prepared. He made sure we had the best of everything. He would prep us the same no matter who we were playing. 3 hours Saturday practices prepping for Old Forge. We're just the same. Let's see, yeah, just the same as prepping for the sectional championship. We won a few games a year simply from his coaching.
I appreciate that. Kevin and Brendan are on their way to Indianapolis to see the Bonnies play.
Yep. They got a chance in that first round.
Yeah, could be. I'd like to take this opportunity, too, to thank the Ryan brothers for sponsoring the show. It means a lot.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. Nick Aquino says, my all-time favorite coach. Coach Kenny's been a great friend of the Aquino family for years. Hope all is well, Coach. See what else we got here.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, that was
Calvin,
our watering hole.
Yeah. Calvin Carney says, I think Coach Cake would still be good today. I'm sure he would. Let's see, you got some of your other former players here, Coach. Danny Sanborn says, grateful for 4 years of playing for Coach. Taught a lot more than just basketball throughout the years.
That's nice. I appreciate it. Just saw Danny. Haven't seen him in quite a while, and he was in town with his new wife a couple of weeks ago, and we spent some time together. It was really great seeing him again.
No, that's awesome. So, Coach, 5 league titles, 4 sectional titles in 1990, 96, 99, and I think 2000, right? Coach was the 4th one?
Yes. Yeah, it was. We were fortunate. We made 5 appearances in the finals, and we came out of there with 4 titles. In 16 years in a small school, our school was relatively small as the years went by. I mean, we were the last few years there. We were second from the bottom in Class D, and the only one below us was a school for the deaf. So we had we didn't have a lot, but what we had were great athletes. They did a great job with the student athletes. I couldn't have been happier or prouder.
And, Coach, I think Kevin Rye is going to probably yell at me when I say this. I know that 99 team of yours went to the state Final Four, and I still think to this day you're still the only Rome basketball team that's been to the state Final Four. But I'm going to say this, and you can agree to disagree. I know a coach will never say which is best team, but I still say that 96 team you had that I think was 23-1, I still think was the best team that you had, because I think if you would have beat West Canada, who I think you beat twice that year, I think they went on to win the states, didn't they?
Yep, they beat us in the state qualifier, and they got to the championship game in Glens Falls. They didn't win, but they got to the championship game. Yeah, that's always we always have a rival between the Ryan boys. They all want to know which team I think is the best. So I told them, you're only going to know if you come to my wake, and I'll have the answer in my pocket when I'm laying in the box.
Hey, Kevin Ryan just said Brendan paid you, didn't he, Rock? It's always tough to debate, right, though, because sometimes it's always the luck of the draw. You play bad one game. I mean, you got to catch some breaks, right?
Yeah, we had that 96 team. We had some great games. As a matter of fact, Joey Maurer up at Dodgeville, real late in the game, he made a big shot to get us back over the hump. We lost the lead for a little bit to keep the undefeated season going. And then at home against West Canada, you could put another person in that, Jim. Brendan hit one from the corner at the buzzer to beat him. And Brendan at the buzzer at Manley Fieldhouse to win the sectionals. That was just a magical year. The kids played very well. And if you got a minute, I'll just go into that year a little bit.
No, absolutely.
It was that summer, the previous summer, they were going to redo the whole gym, and it was supposed to be done by the time school started. Well, obviously, the gym wasn't done when school started, so our whole preseason was at St. Peter's. Luckily, majority of the team went to St. Peter's, and the seniors all been playing together since St. Peter's, so it wasn't a problem for them, and they were bound and determined. They had a goal that they wanted to achieve. And so the first time we hit the new Catholic High gym was the night before the first game, and the practice lasted about 15 minutes because the fumes almost killed every one of us. So we only spent 15 minutes of the entire preseason in our gym before the season started. And, coaches are very superstitious. I was almost thinking of going back to St. Peter's the following year. but that turned into be 23 straight wins. They set some city records. I mean, most wins, most consecutive wins. First boys team to Glens Falls, ranked number 1 for 5 weeks. So they set some city and Catholic High records and City of Rome basketball records that are still there, and we're all very proud of it.
Coach, how special was it, though, to take a team to the Final Four? And as you said, such a small school. And I always have a lot of respect for the small schools. I coached briefly at a small school, and I know how tough it is. But how special was it to take a small school to the Final Four?
Oh, it was special taking any team to the Final Four, but because I know Coach Evans and a bunch of coaches that I know in the area and stuff always went to Glens Falls for their weekend for the Final Four. And I always refused to go. I said, no, don't. I'm not going until I bring my team with me. And I was fortunate enough to get there with the team. And it was I thought we were the best of the 4 teams, but you know how that goes. It's any given day. 32 minutes, you don't know what's going to happen. And we played a team that matched up perfectly with us, even to the color of their uniforms and the color of their sneakers. Fort Ann, up by Glens Falls, they had played on that court like 5 times that year. So they weren't nervous about going into a big arena, but they played very well. We matched up with them body for body, and we basically ran the same thing. So it was going to come down to who executed the best. And, we had some rocky spots during the game, and we just couldn't get over the hump.
And Coach, I always wanted to ask you this question. So you taught over at RFA and you coached over at Rome Catholic. How hard was it teaching at RFA and coaching at Rome Catholic? Was it tough or?
No, not at all. It was it was kind of obviously a unique situation. I always used to get some guys with kids say, "Oh yeah, you can recruit right in the RFA halls and bring them over to Catholic guys." So I never did that. But if a student athlete ever talked about what to do at Catholic High, I'd give them the information. But no, it was the people at RFA and Coach Evans and the other coaches and Coach Coughlin, who hired me as a coach at Rome, and Mr. Dane. They were all very, very supportive of myself and the program, and I got the same thing at Rome Catholic. They were supportive of me being back and forth, but it never created a single problem at all.
So, Coach, how about this one? So, when you decided you knew it was going to be your last season, how did you know it was going to be the last season? Because I still say can you hear me okay still?
You're breaking up, Rock. I'm sorry, I didn't catch
All right,
that
let me
question.
try to adjust this now. How about now? Any better?
Real good.
Okay. So, when you decided to retire, because I still think you had many more years left in you to coach. How did you know you were all done? How did you know it was going to be your last year?
Well, I knew the day before the first practice. That's usually the day when I'm so fired up I can't walk straight, like most coaches are, or all coaches are. And the last year there, I didn't really have that big fire in the belly feeling, and so I kind of knew, and but it didn't stop myself or my staff or the players. We just went at it like we normally do. And then when the season ended, I just figured, because I started, like I say, out of junior college. So I had 36 years under my belt by the time I decided to retire. Do I miss it? Absolutely. We all miss it. But it was time. I really felt as though it was time. I didn't want to become a spectator while I was sitting on the bench. I still wanted to be part of the action.
Yeah.
And so I knew, I knew. But I do miss. We all miss it. We always miss it. We don't miss those cold rides going to Old Forge or Owen de Young or Oppenheim. those we don't miss in the winter.
Now, Coach, when you did decide to retire, did you still have any other opportunities at any other high schools? If you still wanted to coach then, could you have coached somewhere else?
I don't know. I know I had a couple opportunities while I was coaching. When I was coaching with Coach Evans, I had an opportunity to go over to Hamilton College. Coach Murphy asked me if I'd be interested in being part of his staff, but my daughter had just been born. She was, and it just wasn't the right time. And like I say, while I was still coaching at Rome Catholic, I had an opportunity to go to a bigger school, and I chose not to. I was happy. I was home. I liked the fact I didn't have to share my gym with the volleyball or anything else. So, no, I was thankful, and I was very appreciative that I had opportunities, but I think I made the right choice.
And Coach, I know
I made the right choice.
every coach has their most memorable games, and obviously you've coached in a lot of big games. But is there one game that stands out to you as your most memorable game?
Yeah. My first team, when Mike left, he made out the schedule for me. So my first year, he scheduled everybody but UCLA and Michigan. So he wanted to make sure I wasn't going to have a real good season on his first year gone. But so I had primarily underclassmen, and the game that we won up in Oppenheim to qualify for the sectionals, and we were small, we were inexperienced, and that was very memorable. And the first sectional that we won, we played Hamilton at Lemoyne, and my center was 5'10". Bobby Andrews was my center, and it was Keith Wick, Timmy Benedict, John Corbin, and Tony Cerbello. They were starting five. 5'10" center. Hamilton's point guard was 6'3". I mean, they were huge and naturally great team, Coach Blackford. Well, we're playing at Lemoyne on a Saturday afternoon, and it ends up going double overtime. And Bobby Andrews tips in a shot at the buzzer, my 5'10" center. And he tips in a shot over a kid about 6'5", 6'6", and you know it's in, you know it's good, but you just got to make a check. I looked over at the trail official. He's got the hand down. It's good, and everybody's going crazy. Well, Coach Evans was at the game. Naturally, he's always been very supportive of me, and so we got after the game. We talked a little bit. And he said, "You didn't think that wasn't going to be good, did you?" I go, "Coach, I don't know. You never know." Well, I'll tell you who the trail official was. It was Coach Hoke.
Oh, dear.
And he was a varsity girls coach at RFA at the time. And they had a sectional game Saturday night. So Coach Evans says, that was good because at 6:30, he had to get back to Rome because he had to coach his own girls for sectional game. That's a very memorable one.
Oh, man.
But the buzzer beaters with Brendan, were obviously memorable too.
So you got more comments here. You got Coach Steve Campbell says, "Great coach, great man. Learned so much from him over the years." Mark Vaca says, "Coach K is the best golfer in his foursome."
I'm the only one that can walk now.
Mike Haydock says, "Coach can still coach." Mike Haydock says, "Would love to have you join me and my son in Clinton."
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Mike Haydock.
Oh, Michael, what a great guy. I'm proud of him. We're so proud of him, Rome Catholic. He's being up there at the lab. He was a hard worker too. His son could stroke it.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah, Clarkson played there.
Coach Manganero says, "Great coach at RCH when I coached there, although he cut me from the Staley junior high team in '81. I wasn't happy."
That was the first time I had to make cuts when I went to the public schools. That was an easy cut. I used to go into Staley locker room like 7 o'clock in the morning, post all the kids that made the team, and then get out of there because I didn't teach there. They didn't see me. But I didn't know what it was to I didn't. Whoops, you lost me.
No,
I didn't
I
know
got
what it
you.
was to what it was to make cuts. I mean, Catholic High, you didn't make many cuts because we're struggling to sometimes to build uniforms up. But yeah, that was a cut from. They remember all those things, good things.
Coach, how about some mentors for you while you were coaching? Who were some mentors? Who were some guys you looked up to?
Oh God, you mean locally? I looked up to Coach Evans, obviously, right away. Mike gave me an opportunity, and then, like I say, other basketball coaches were some of the guys in the area that were older. Coach Klein, who just passed away from Notre Dame, and non-basketball coaches that I looked up to, and I still look up to, is Coach Bruce, Coach Mize, Coach Gelati. Coach Coughlin, unfortunately, isn't there anymore. But they were non-basketball coaches that taught me a lot.
And Coach, how about some of the best advice you got, even as a young coach, as you got older? What was some of the best advice you received?
That I received?
Yeah.
I guess always be honest with the kids, because they could read right through you if you're not. To be honest with them, and if you expect hard work from your players, then you have to put the hard work in yourself. And that pretty much, as far as philosophies are concerned, and enjoy yourself, because you never know when you're not going to be here to enjoy anything. So,
Right.
Always enjoy it. And I enjoyed myself as an athlete, and I want to make sure that anybody that played for me also enjoyed themselves too. When all the smoke cleared, that they could look back and say, you know what, I really enjoyed myself those few years.
And Coach, how about for yourself personally, from when you got into coaching to when you retired in coaching? Did you change? Did anything change from when you started to when you retired? Did you mellow out as you got older?
No,
They
not
always say
really.
to mellow.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No, definitely wasn't mellow. No, no, I don't think so, Rock. I kept a pretty even keel throughout my coaching. I worked just as hard when I coached the Staley team, 7th and 8th grade, as I did when I coached the varsity. And I put in as much time as I did at the 7th grade level as I did at the varsity level. So I would have to say no. After 34, 5 years, no, I don't really think I changed.
And Coach, you were inducted into the Section 3 Hall of Fame, I think, back in 2004, and then you're a member of the Rome Sports Hall of Fame. Let's talk about the Section 3 Hall of Fame first and what that means to you.
Oh, it was great. You know why? Because it's an honor that's given to you by your peers, and anytime you could have your fellow coaches honor you in any way, that was very special. And that same year, I also had the honor to receive the honor from my peers, Section 3 Coach of the Year. So anytime that you could get any recognition or an award like that, an honor like that from your peers, makes it very special. And the Rome Sports Hall of Fame, it's when I stood up there, that was quite a weekend. That was the weekend my daughter got married. Megan got married Friday night, and I was sleeping in the car in the parade Saturday morning. And Sunday was the induction. But And standing up at the podium, and I look out in the audience, and you see the table full of all inductees, all people that you looked up to when you were an athlete, or people that you work with now, and to be recognized by your community is extremely special to a coach.
And coach, would you have done anything different over your 30 years of coaching? Would you have went back and changed anything?
Would I have changed anything? No, not really. I don't think so. I think I'm pretty satisfied with myself over all those 30 some odd years. I don't think I would have changed anything because I think, as I say, during my career, I felt as though, maybe some of the kids will pipe in, I felt as though I was fair to them. I was respectful to them, respectful to their parents. Their parents, entrusted their child for a lot of hours and a lot of days and a lot of years. And I was very fortunate to have great families to work with. And I just, I think I held true to that.
And what do you feel now, coach, when you see that, years ago when there's no more Rome Catholic, right? As somebody that
Right.
coached there for a long time, what was your initial feeling when you heard the news that, RCH was going to shut down?
Oh, it's, being a student there, I mean, like I said, my class was the first freshman class. So we were the first class to go all the way through 4 years at Rome Catholic. And it was tough because I, just for a few years, 2 years away junior college and then coming back, but then I went right back to Rome Catholic. So I was pretty much there my whole adult life. And it's a part of you that you'll always cherish. But it was tough when we learned. We could see, obviously it didn't happen overnight.
Right,
It was happening a little bit at a time. So you were just hoping to hang on, but you didn't want it to hang on at the end where it wouldn't be what it was. And so it was hard. It's still tough driving by there,
Yeah.
because you still remember going in and out of there like you were still there.
Now, coach, you're a big.
Yes, like I never left high school.
Yep. You're a big SU hoop fan, right?
Oh yeah.
So give me the analysis.
I'm a Zag guy too.
All right. Well, that's good to hear because I think this is the year they finish undefeated and win a national championship, but I don't want to jinx it. What's the Syracuse breakdown? Did they get by San Diego?
What's that?
They get by San Diego State, Syracuse?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. San Diego State's, they're like 56-3 the last 2 seasons. They're on a 14-game win streak now. And that's going to be a tough game. There's going to be some decent teams. It's a hard tournament to pick because there's so many unknown factors with COVID, and a lot of schools only played a handful of games. Some didn't play, like the mid-majors that are in the tournament didn't have the opportunity to play some of the majors because the first games they canceled were non-conference games.
Right.
But there's some decent teams. Ohio State, Texas, I think could make a run. I want to know what you're going to do when it comes down to the semifinals when the Zags meet Michigan. You were always a Michigan guy. That's all I ever saw you in when you were younger.
I'm always a diehard Michigan football guy. And of course, back in the Fab Five and Steve Fisher, I always loved rooting for Michigan, and I still do. I think Michigan losing Livers there, their forward, I think is going to be key. I got Gonzaga, Baylor, Texas, and Illinois, and I got Gonzaga, Baylor. I've said it's Gonzaga, Baylor, and everybody else the whole season, and I got Gonzaga cutting the nets down. Who's your four?
I've got Michigan, Gonzaga, I got Illinois, and I got Baylor, and Gonzaga in the finals. But Baylor, if they get up against – Baylor doesn't have a really good offensive team inside, but they just come at you. They just come at you defensively, and you got to bring your A game to beat them. I had met, you said Coach Fisher. I had met Coach Fisher at Kristen Evans' wedding out in San Diego when she was working. Matter of fact, she was the academic athletic counselor for the basketball team at San Diego State.
Yep.
So I met Coach Fisher at Kristen's wedding. What a gentleman. What a gentleman. Just
Well, you know,
he talked to you like he knew you his whole life. It was a thrill.
he was
Really
one of my favorite coaches, and he did a great job at San Diego State. And I think the reason why not many people know about San Diego State is they're always on late at night and nobody watches them.
That's right. Or they're on late at night and you get Bill Walton, who's the color guy, who makes me absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm not a big Bill guy.
What's that?
I'm not a big Bill guy listening to him. Sometimes I have to mute him at night.
Oh, you got to. You got Coach Evans and I go round and round. Coach Evans loves him. I said, I can't. Finally, had two sportscasters on the CBS Sports Network yesterday talking about him. Tiki and Tierney. I don't know if you ever watched that show, but Tierney was talking to Tiki. He says, have you ever listened to a game with Bill Walton? He never talks about basketball. He talks about bagels. He talks about donut shops. The other night he was talking about the trees in the forest. But yeah, I tried a couple of times. I watched the Zags late, and in San Diego State I've watched a couple, 3 times. Not totally. There's some decent teams that can. BYU's not bad either.
Yeah. And Coach, how about no Coach K in the tournament, no Coach Cal, but Rick Pitino gets in there in his first year at Iona.
How about that? How about that one? That's I'll tell you a quick story if you got time about Iona. My very first Final Four was in 1981 in Philadelphia, and I went to Palestra to watch the All-Star game. And I sat down, and then about 20 minutes later, a guy comes next to me. He's got a burgundy sweatsuit on, and his wife has this matching sweatsuit. And I look, and it's Jimmy V. And talked to him like I grew up with him the whole game. It was a thrill. And I remember listening to Jimmy V at a clinic, and he was talking about when he was coaching at Iona. And there was some real 5-star kid, and his assistant said, Coach, I want to go talk to him. And, he said, just no way we're going to get a 5-star kid coming to Iona. And the assistant said, let me take a shot. So the assistant went, he talked to the kid, and the kid came back, the assistant came back, and he said to Jimmy, he says, I think we got a shot, but you got to come to the house and you have to talk to the mother. So Valvano said, what do I got to lose? So they go to the house, knocks on the door. The mother comes to the door, and Valvano introduces himself to the mother and says, Mrs. Johnson, I'm Coach Jim Valvano, Iona College. And she says, well, come on in and talk to my son-in-law. So about 2 days later, the assistant comes busting into Valvano's office, and he says, Coach, you're not going to believe it. We got him. We got the 5-star. Valvano said, how the heck did we ever get a 5-star kid coming here? He said, when the mother opened the door and you said Jim Valvano, Iona College, when the mother talked to the son after you left, she said, you're going there. And the kid said, I want to go like Michigan or UCLA. She goes, no, you're going there because that guy owns a college. I own a college. I fell off my chair. He told that story. That's a true story. According to Valvano, he said true story.
Hey, I think they said that Rick Pitino, this will be his 5th school he's taken to the NCAA tournament. And I said the other day, if I'm Indiana, other than Brad Stevens, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling Rick Pitino to come to Indiana. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's happy where he's at.
Yeah, I saw where they mentioned Stevens for Indiana job, but I don't think I was very surprised. He was one of the few college coaches, successful college coaches, that really did a great job as a pro coach.
Yeah.
Pitino is one of 3. Tubby Smith and who's the third one? You know the third one, top of your head? That took 5 teams. I can't remember the third one.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Yeah, Patino stuff.
Coach, I know you guys always go to the.
the.
You guys always go to the Final Four, and this year you guys are gonna have to miss it again, right? No spectators, or are they gonna limit it?
Yeah. Well, they're basically limited to very few spectators, you know, and the housing's a problem because you got every school is taking up a hotel, and all the venues are limited, and so it's just not, you know, not like it normally would be where you're all over the place, and so no, it's unfortunately no, that'd be, well, last year didn't matter because they didn't have it, but
Yep.
this year is just not a good thing to do. At least
Well, Coach,
from my aspect.
Joe Mauer says the other coach was Lon Kruger. And I forgot that.
Yes.
Lon Kruger's the other one. That's who it was.
Good job, Joe. Good job.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, Lon Kruger. I forgot all about that. Well, Coach, listen, I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's an honor to finally get down and sit down and talk with you. And long career and a very successful career. You've always been good to me and my family. And I really appreciate you coming on with me tonight.
I appreciate that, Rock. And I want to thank you for the invitation. And I want to, obviously, like all the coaches, we want to thank our families for the, you know, they put their lives on hold for a lot of years so we could chase our dream. You know, very thankful. I'm very lucky and very fortunate to have the family that I have and the support I have from them. I appreciate the invitation to be on this show program. You do a great job.
No, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. And happy St. Patrick's Day to you. And get out there on a golf course as soon as it gets nice.
Yep. Tommy Engel is another one of my great assistants. I knew I'd get some of them.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
All right.
Say hi to everybody for me, and I appreciate it.
Will do. Thanks very much.
All right, Coach. Thank you. So that was Coach Jimmy Kenny. I always say there's always a handful of coaches that I wish I got the opportunity to play for. Obviously, one of them was Coach Adey. Coach Evans in basketball. I played for Coach Evans, as I said on this show a few weeks ago with him, JV baseball. But I wish I had the opportunity to play basketball for him, and I wish I had the opportunity to play basketball for Coach Kenny. All three of my favorite coaches in basketball and any sport, really, with Coach Evans in baseball. So the Rock Pile continues next week with the legends. I talked to Coach Bill Fleet, and then the last one of the month will be Coach Jerry Fiorini. And I just announced it today, but for the month of May, I'm not sure if it's going to be Wednesday nights or not. I might have to change the nights because my son starts baseball, but I'm going to be talking to all the WKTV personalities. So I'll have Jason Paulus on the show. I'll have Jill Reel on the show, Katrina Smith. Steve McMurray will be on the show with me, and Spencer Davidson will be on the show with me, and that'll be for the month of May. I'll just have to let everybody know the days and times that I have those shows. Make sure to tune into the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch on Saturday morning from 9 to 11, right on WKAL 1450 and the new FM 103.3. I'll be talking high school football this week. I'll have Coach Brian Briggs from Howland Patton on with me, Coach DeCola right here in Rome will join me. Coach Bates out in Camden, and it'll be a full fun day, fun 2 hours talking some high school football, and you know I'm going to talk March Madness at some point on Saturday morning. So I appreciate everybody following the show tonight and following the show on Saturday mornings. As I say every Wednesday night on the Rock Pile is where dreams become reality. Have a good evening, everybody.